What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of It's Called Football on the Vendetta Sports Media YouTube channel. As always, I'm Jerry Walker, and alongside me is Jackson Fyda. Hey, man, Jackson, we had an interesting weekend last weekend in the Premier League, to say the least.
We did.
Few big upsets that we'll dive into, a couple other crazy games, a very insane finish in one of them. Before we hop into all that, how are you doing on this Thursday afternoon? How's the week been?
It's been a rough week to be a Gunners fan.
Yeah.
Rough half week, but it is what it is. Yeah, everyone goes through those little patches. It's better than being a City fan right now. So
yeah, I'll agree with that one. City got walloped by Sporting Lisbon in the midweek, which we're not going to dive into that, but 4-1 against a guy who is already a cult hero for Manchester United. Their new manager, Ruben Amorim, they might have a statue for him already. There's already him being the next Fergie. I wouldn't get that carried away yet. And we see in how Man U's been playing lately. It's going to take more than just a manager to change all that, but we shall see.
He's a class manager, though.
He really is.
Great manager.
Yeah. Team that has a great manager. We'll start with a couple upsets, kind of not necessarily upsets, but shocks, and a couple of them probably. But start with your boys. Newcastle Arsenal was the first match of the weekend. Newcastle won 1-0 with an Alex Isak goal. What went wrong for Arsenal, and what did, I guess, Newcastle do right?
Well, the thing they did right is they scored their chance, right?
Yeah.
I mean, looking at the game, Arsenal had more possession. Shots were about even, but Newcastle was far more dangerous and ultimately more clinical. And when you score a goal early like that, that kind of allows you to be more defensively focused the rest of the game, which is what they did. And they did it really well. I mean, the goal was, that was a phenomenal ball, phenomenal header. I mean, Gabriel can't lose his guy there. He can't lose him. He falls asleep. Isak does what Isak can be doing. And we kind of talked about this last week. For Newcastle to really take that step towards where they should be, they need Isak to do what he did in this game, which is to be the goal-scoring threat that he always is, that he's always been. And that's what he did this game. He got his chance. He got the header, and it was a phenomenal header. No chance for David Raya. And from there, Arsenal just didn't really create enough going forward for me. I mean, Declan Rice had a great chance at the very end of the game. Obviously, there's some other ones as well, some set pieces that caused some mayhem. Arsenal's very dangerous with those. It just felt a little flat, to be completely honest. It felt flat. And Newcastle, they did what they had to do. They got the early goal. Anthony Gordon had a great game, by the way. Going to give him a shout out because he was attacking really well, got the assist, and he was also working back defensively in a big way. And yeah, I mean, this is a kind of result that Newcastle can use to kind of propel their season because now they're at 11th place, 15 points, only 3 back from Chelsea and Arsenal. And that's how close it really is right now. When you're looking at the top 3, or excuse me, 4th and 5th place compared to, I think, going all the way, to Newcastle 11th. It's only a 3-point difference. So everyone's still close. Everyone's still going to be able to push each other for European spots and maybe beyond. So this is a great result for Newcastle. And from an Arsenal perspective, it's not catastrophic. It's still early, but it is very worrying, to say the least, in a game where you have 65% possession. You're not able to create really that many meaningful chances from it. You're not able to get at least 1 point, let alone 3. That's worrisome, especially when you see teams like Liverpool who are kicking ass right now. Manchester City, for the most part, has been doing really well, still sitting in 2nd place. To catch those teams, something's got to change a little bit. Obviously, Arsenal's been hard done by injuries, by suspensions. Just keeps happening, but so is everybody. Straight up, Manchester City's going through a worse injury problem. They had their own problems this weekend and the past week, to be completely honest. We'll touch on that here in a bit, but everyone's got to deal with these congested fixtures, stuff like that. Liverpool's handling it just fine, so I don't want to see that as an excuse, to be completely honest. It just wasn't a very good game. It just felt flat. That's all I can really say about it.
I mean, flat's a great way to put it. Sure, you dominated possession, but you had the one shot on target.
Mhm.
A couple other ones. Saka put one just wide. Declan Rice had one at the end. But Arsenal lacked that cunning ability at the end. There's just something that struggled. I'll say it like it looked like Leeds playing. At
Mm.
least this midweek game for them is dominated possession, dominated the game, but just couldn't do anything in that attacking third. And that's exactly what I saw from Arsenal this weekend. So, with that, fair play as well to Newcastle's back
Mhm.
line. Anthony Gordon dropping back and making it a nightmare in that midfield for Arsenal. And I think you're really, really missing Martin Odegaard at the moment.
Oh, big time, and he just made the bench the other day in the Champions League game, which is good. He's back in training, but we're missing that creative spark 100%.
And that's just a player that you have to now defenses have to focus on. And it's not just Saka and I mean, really, it's been the Saka show all season.
Mhm.
It's Declan Rice hasn't been living up to it as much. Havertz started out okay, but it's kind of fallen off a little bit as of late. Same with Trossard, Martinelli. This team is still very good. Don't
Mhm.
get me wrong, but it just seems like they're going through what you said is a lapse period, and it's looking a little rough this past week or so. But
I will say this, I'd rather have it happen now,
yep,
especially when you take all the other external factors into play and then build on it, especially with this busy, congested holiday season coming up. But, right now, Arsenal doesn't look like a title team. That's really all I can say about it. Looks like a top 4 team.
yeah,
Doesn't look like a title team, and that's what Arsenal should be striving for with every single season. It just doesn't look like that at the moment. It's still plenty of time.
no, absolutely.
Obviously, a lot can change. No need to freak out. Only 7 points off the top, right? All that takes is a couple good games. New Liverpool to drop a few. You're right there. But you gotta start picking it up. It
No,
right now, this just doesn't look like a team that can compete for the title.
yep, yep. I agree. I think it now looks like it's Liverpool, Man City, and then kind of everybody else. But
Mhm.
I want to talk on Newcastle briefly, just because they started the season out really, really well. Like, what was it? Winning 3 of their first 4. The only other one was a draw. And since then, since their 2-1 win over Wolves on September 15th, they have yet to win a league game until this weekend.
Mhm. I think it was like 7 weeks.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Lost to Fulham, drew with Man City, drew with Everton, lost to Brighton, lost to Chelsea. Those are not bad results. I mean, not good results, but like you look at the quality of team you're playing, and it's a rough stretch. But them coming out and getting this win was massive considering their upcoming fixtures for the next 3 matches of, I guess it doesn't get easier, but Nottingham Forest, they're third. West Ham, Crystal Palace, then it's Liverpool, Brentford, Leicester. That's not the hardest stretch in the world outside of really Liverpool, because I still think there's something with Forest. I know they're third, but I just have the feeling that they're going to come crashing back down at some
Yeah.
point.
Mm.
It just seems inevitable. We'll see what happens with them, but fair play to Newcastle and a great result for them to, as you said, move up to 11th place.
Mhm.
Another team that had a shocking result, Man City, one we talked about, one you hinted at touching on in a bit, 2-1 loss away to Bournemouth. And it was 1-0 9 minutes in. We've seen this time and time again with Man City. It was one of those things that, like, I saw them score the goal and I was like, okay, they'll be fine. I'm not too worried. And it just didn't seem like they had anything going. Ultimately finished with 4 shots and another one, 65% possession, but it just didn't seem like anything was really cooking. Holland wasn't having his best game. You're really starting to see the missing of Rodri and Kevin De Bruyne. I know Kevin De Bruyne came back in the Champions League this week. He was on the bench against Bournemouth but didn't play. Something's lacking there, but fair play to Bournemouth. They went up 2-0 with a goal by Evan Nielsen.
Yeah, Evan Nielsen, yeah.
Wilson in the 64th minute. But Gvardiol got one back in the 82nd, but it was really just too little too late for Man City.
Mhm.
And hey, it was a 32-game unbeaten run for Man City, ended by Bournemouth of all teams. Did not expect that coming. We were talked last week, and boy, were some of our predictions for this week wrong.
Way off.
I think we had like 3 or 4-0, or 3 or 4-1 each in this one to Man City. And
Like, Bournemouth had never beaten Manchester City.
Yeah.
That was the first time they ever did it, and, I mean, they had an inspired performance across the board. Semenyo was unbelievable that game. Evan Nielsen was unbelievable, obviously, of just saying the 2 goal scorers, but on top of that, all these other players had a very good game. And City just didn't know how to react. I mean, they put themselves in this situation time and time again this season, right? You go down an early goal, through some kind of folly, some kind of lapse, whatever it is. They've done this a lot this season, and they always find a way to come back. But when you keep playing with fire, you're eventually going to get burned. And that's exactly what happened in this game. They weren't at the races. It took them until the 82nd minute for Josko Vardiol to score a header. I think it was the 82nd minute, right? Yeah, 82nd minute. And by that point, it was already too little too late. When you let that second goal come in from Evan Nilsson, they can just sit back. They can just defend. And they know that they have that one goal cushion, right? City can go and score a goal. They're going to have to score 2 to get a draw, and they're going to have to score 3 to get the win. So when they put themselves in that situation, they just weren't able to get out of it this time. And they've been flirting with this situation time after time after time. And we were just waiting for one team to really take advantage of it. And of all teams, Bournemouth. I mean, Bournemouth, don't get me wrong. They're a pretty good team. They had a very good season last year. Right now, they're in 10th. They're having a very good season by all accounts. Yeah. And they knew how to manage the game. Semenyo got the goal in the 9th minute, and they managed the game from that point. Evan Nilsson added to that tally, and from there, they managed the game. Obviously, you don't like seeing your side ever concede, but if it's really going to be an 82nd minute header from Josko Vardiol, great header, by the way, that brings it back, I think you could take that. I mean, you definitely can. You got all 3 points. But, yeah, City, man, defensively, they have been atrocious this season for what they should be. Just horrible defensively, just leaking in goals. Ederson is having a bad season. Akanji, Ake, Vardiol, Ruben Diaz, even Kyle Walker. No one is really stepping up in the back line like they need to be doing. Because attacking-wise, for the most part this season, they've been totally fine. They've been scoring goals, they've been creating. Obviously, Haaland had an off game this game. That's going to happen. People put so much focus on him. But for the most part, the offense has been doing its thing. But defensively, they look so vulnerable. And they got punished for it.
Yeah. I mean, it's across all competitions, that's 3 straight losses for Man City. I don't know the last time we saw Man City lose 3 consecutive matches. I don't care who they're playing or what. So
2018.
2018 was. Okay. Mm-hmm. But also want to put this out there for Bournemouth, because I don't know if you've seen their recent fixtures that they've just had. Beat Arsenal 2-0. Drew at Aston Villa on the road with a 96th minute equalizer from Evan Nilsson. Now go and beat Man City. Bournemouth is flying high at the moment with their and these are the ones against the Big Six. Sure, they lost to Liverpool 3-0. Drew with Nottingham Forest 1-1 on the opening day. Little were we to know at that point that Forest would be sitting
Go draw, yeah.
They've been thriving. I want to put a shout out there to their left back from this game, Milos Kerkez. 2 assists. He got completed just over 96% of his passes. He was superb for them, and he was superb on the defensive end as well, slowing down Bernardo Silva, Erling Haaland, Phil Foden on that right side for City. It was a very, very impressive performance by them. Hey, we will always see. And I guess my next question just on Man City is, are you worried? Should they be worried at the moment?
Nah, I don't think so. I mean, title's going to be tough, right? It's looking like City and Liverpool right now. Mm-hmm. Maybe Arsenal or Chelsea can push a little bit more. But right now it's looking like those are the 2 teams that are really going to be pushing each other for the title. So I realize it's going to be tough, but I'm City. I'm not too concerned yet. Obviously, you've had injuries. You've had all these other issues. You're still in 2nd place in the table. It's not dire straits, you know. It's been a rough week, sure. The Cup happened. You lost to a good Sporting team on the road in Champions League, obviously, this game. There's plenty of time to turn it around, plenty of time to get good results. And if you really need it, when you think about it, the international break's coming up. You're going to have time to reset, get everyone together, just focus on training and building back towards the Manchester City we all know and I don't love, but all their fans love. So no, I wouldn't be concerned. It's been a rough week. I don't see that continuing. I think they'll be fine. I wouldn't be too concerned.
No, every team goes through a rough patch. Even look at Real Madrid at the moment.
But yeah, Real Madrid's struggling.
As well. The only team that looks really, really good at the moment in the world is Barcelona.
Barcelona looks unbelievable.
Rafinha looks like the best player in the world. It's superb to watch them play at the moment. It's very, very fun. But
the kids, man, the kids are cooking.
They are. Did you see? I mean, and the leadership from Rafinha. I don't know if you saw the clip, and we're going a little away from Premier League, but Lamine Yamal in the Champions League against Red Star was kind of did a little chippiness, and all these players converge on him, and you just see Rafinha sprint across the pitch and kind of give him a little bump and going back up his 17-year-old teammate. Shows that everyone's on the same page there, which is not the case for teams at the moment like Arsenal, Man City, Man U. I was watching the first half of their Europa League game before we started this today, and they just look worried. They don't look like they want to play with each other. They don't look like they want to play for each other, which scares me about that. But we'll see what they do.
The only one in the Premier League that I could argue is kind of close to that is Liverpool.
Yeah.
Right now, they're the only ones who look like they're playing for each other. They're playing to win something. They feel like they can actually win something. They look confident, and they are ruthless when it comes to scoring goals, as Bayer Leverkusen saw the other day. They're the only ones that I would give that title to right now.
Yeah, I mean, former last year's Bundesliga champions go to Anfield and get battered 4-0. That's a statement in its own right.
Yeah.
Do you want to go back to the Premier League completely right now? And another ex-Bournemouth player had himself a weekend. Dominic Solanke, 2 goals for Tottenham in a 4-1 thrashing. I don't know if we could call it an upset just because of the quality Tottenham has, but they were definitely lower in the table. But a 4-1 thrashing of Aston Villa.
Yeah, I don't know if you'd call that an upset, but damn.
Yeah, I think it's more of a statement win.
Yeah.
Put it that way. I mean, Morgan Rogers opens up the scoring for Aston Villa 32 minutes in. Halftime comes 4 minutes after the break, or 4 minutes after the break. Brendan Johnson gets 1. Then Solanke gets 2 in 4 minute span, and James Maddison, who he's been due for a goal. He's been solid for them. We talked about it last season on this show, how good he was when he was healthy and how he's really a key part of this. He gets a 4th in the 96th minute, and just a statement win by a Tottenham team that's kind of slowly starting to get their act together this season.
Yeah, it feels like everything's slowly getting back to where they need to be going, especially when Dom Solanke's scoring 2 goals. You need him to be playing well. Obviously, phenomenal season last year. Brought him in with high expectations. You're going to be the guy. We need you to score these goals for us. Didn't really look the part early on, but he's finally kind of got his goal-scoring boots, it looks like, which is huge news for Tottenham. And like you said, James Maddison was due a goal. Brendan Johnson gets in on the act as well. You get 3 different goal scorers, 4 goals against a very good Aston Villa team. It's a phenomenal result.
Yeah, I want to put out James Maddison's wasn't assisted, but the first 3 goals, Son had an assist. Kuvalesi had an assist. Richarlison had an assist. So everyone's thriving in this one. I mean, it wasn't like they dominated the game completely. It was just they took advantage of their 6 shots on target. Aston Villa went 1 for 1, so 100% conversion rate, but you want to be seeing more from them with a team that has been scoring goals relatively convincingly this season against everybody, and now they've struggled as of late. But it's a weird one for Villa, and they need to get things turned around because they have a huge game that we'll talk on a little bit later when we get to looking at this upcoming weekend stuff against a very good team in Liverpool. So need to get something rolling there because they've looked really good in Europe as well until yesterday. And did you see the penalty that Aston Villa gave up?
No, but I heard it was controversial, and
no, it wasn't controversial. It was idiotic.
It was idiotic.
That's how I will put it. Emiliano Martinez puts the ball down for a goal kick, kicks it over to Tyrone Mings, who I don't know what he was thinking. I guess he didn't think he kicked it, picks it up with his hands, puts it back on the goal line and kicks it over. And that was the penalty.
See, I got a notification saying absurd penalty. I thought it was just controversial. I didn't even have a chance to look at it.
No, it was just pure brain lapse from Tyrone Mings. And ultimately, that was the difference against Club Brugge. First goal in the Champions League this season as well. So that's a tough way to have your goalless streak go.
Yeah, it's tough.
But anything else on this Tottenham and Aston Villa match before we move on to just kind of glance over a couple other matches from the weekend?
I mean, huge results for Tottenham. And I like the way you phrase it. This was a statement victory, more so than an upset. This is one that says, we're here. We're going to beat these teams. We're back in form. Everyone else watch out. 4 goals past a very good defensive Aston Villa side. That's a big statement.
And they have some relatively easier fixtures coming up. So this might be the kind of one that you get momentum going. They play Ipswich next at the weekend. Then it's the international break, come back against Man City, which won't be easy. But then it's Fulham, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Southampton. I think all of those are very winnable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still not completely bought in on Chelsea, but still, they're doing what they have to do.
Yeah.
That's the next one we're going to touch on. Probably not going to go into great detail for you Chelsea and Man U fans, but that's the match. Man U hosted Chelsea, finished as a 1-1 draw, and there really wasn't much to take from this. Bruno Fernandes got a penalty, or scored his penalty. Moises Caicedo got the equalizer in the 74th minute, 4 minutes after Bruno took the lead. It was just another one that you kind of felt had draw written all over it. So
Yeah.
there's the most drawn fixture in the Premier League.
Yeah, and it felt like a draw. Like in the game, it straight up felt like a draw. I didn't really feel like either team was better than the other, and 1-1 seems about right, to be completely honest. I mean, I back Man U to win this game. I wasn't after the pod. I wasn't very confident that I was right, but I just had that feeling. So I mean, Man U actually did better than I thought after we made those predictions they would do. But yeah, it's just one of those games when you're watching, you're like, yeah, this is a draw. Like no one really deserves to beat the other one here, and if one does, then it feels undeserved.
And we talked about the momentum they might have been carrying off their EFL Cup win over Leicester in the midweek. They won that 5-2. I know it's very different quality of teams in Leicester and Chelsea, but we're thinking they looked free-flowing. They looked like they were playing for each other and looked convincing in Ruud van Nistelrooy's first game as the interim manager. Everything good we saw in that one disappeared in this Chelsea game, and it disappeared in the first half of the PAOK game today. It is now 1-0 Man U, but Ahmed Diallo of all the guys to get the goal in that one. So
He's still good. I still rate him.
Yeah. But it's been a weird week for Man U, to say the least. I think everything's kind of building for their new manager to come in and kind of change everything up after the international break.
Mm-hmm.
As far as Chelsea goes, they're still fourth, tied with Arsenal and Aston Villa on points, have the better goal difference by 2 over Arsenal, 4 over Aston Villa. So nothing too crazy, or 6 over Aston Villa, correct myself. Nothing too crazy, but a decent enough result on the road at Old Trafford.
Mm-hmm.
Just touching on this one very briefly before we kind of hop into our predictions and previews for the week. This was probably the craziest game. Fulham hosted Brentford. Brentford went up 1-0 after 24 minutes. I think it was Batali Jallet who got the goal. Nothing really happened. Fulham had some chances here and there. They ended up with 12 shots on target, so it's kind of amazing that the result was what it was compared to Brentford's 2. They had 68% possession. This was pure domination by Fulham. They just couldn't find the back of the net until the 92nd minute. Super sub Harry Wilson came on in the 82nd minute. 10 minutes later, he gets a goal from Adama Traore. Then 5 minutes from there, 97th minute, he scores a winner. And I want to say, did you see that first goal from him?
No, I wasn't able to.
Oh, okay. So the Brentford goal was a screamer. That was a very good goal. These might have been the 2 goals of the week. And then Harry Wilson's first goal was the ball kind of chipped in, and he jumped up facing towards the goal. Ball came in from the right side, kind of jumps up and swings his left leg around and just hits it with the outside of his boot, just chipping it up and over the outstretched goalkeeper. It was all over SportsCenter's top 10 that night. It was, if you haven't seen it, go and check that out because it was one hell of a goal. And then ball fell to him and he put it away to win it. And the scenes in London, scenes in Craven Cottage for this smaller London derby were electric.
Yeah. I mean, and also just scoring those 2 late goals like that. I mean, if that's not momentum builder for Fulham heading forward, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
Especially with a substitute coming in and doing that, because that gets a whole team hyped up when they see a substitute coming in, scoring 2 late goals like that to carry you through. That just, when you see a guy who doesn't start a game, probably thinks they should be, whatever, and he comes in and has an impact like that, that just pushes everyone over the top when it comes to morale. So, I mean, huge result for Fulham from that regard.
Oh, most definitely. And I will say, just on Harry Wilson's first goal, if it wasn't for some Philadelphia Eagle running back, Saquon Barkley, spin moving and jumping over, hurling someone backwards, this would have been the best play I would have seen all weekend. It was audacious, and it kind of looked like it. He was facing away from the goal and just swooped it in. But fair play to Tottenham, or fair play to Fulham, moves them up to 9th place. Brentford's still in 12th, but it's like we said earlier, it's very, very congested in that entire 4th to 11th.
Yeah.
Any other things you want to touch on before we wrap up kind of this past week's action at all? Any other matches you want to highlight?
Anthony Robinson is one of the best left backs in the world right now. I will make that claim. He is so good. So good. And I will not be surprised to see him move to a bigger team very soon. I hope he stays at Fulham, to be completely honest. Because I think if you go to a bigger team, you kind of face that. Like, I know Liverpool has shown interest in him as possibly being the successor to Robertson. I kind of like him at Fulham, but I would not be surprised to see him picked up by someone big pretty soon.
Yeah, and the only other one I'm going to just shout out Nottingham Forest, 3-0 win. They keep it going. Chris Wood gets his 8th goal of the season. Maybe they're back.
Imagine.
There's
no way.
Europe this year and win their 3rd European title next season.
What if this is a Leicester City situation again?
I mean, they have a hot striker. It's not as hot as Jamie Vardy. It's a kind of veteran team that's got talent all over the pitch, and just they seem to be clicking and flowing. Callum Hudson-Odoi had a goal this weekend. Gibbs White has been playing well. Alanga has been playing well. Defensively, they've been so-so at times, but they're still, I mean, whatever. They've given up 7 goals. Only Liverpool's given up less. Only scored 14, but it just shows that this defense has been thriving. And I'm not saying it's because he's gone, but no Matt Turner there. Matt Sells has started balling out in that.
Matt Turner sucks.
Yeah. You guys haven't noticed, Matt Turner was one of our favorite talking points last season. One of our favorite talking points at times when it's time to talk about the U.S. national team, because he is so just inconsistently bad. Where is he even now?
He's at Crystal Palace on the bench.
He's not even starting. Is he still going to be the U.S. starter next season?
For now, I mean, no one else is really.
Well, I guess that's the issue.
Popped in. Gaga's young and developing. Chris Brady's young and developing. Who else you got? Horvath. Stefan's been playing all right, I guess, but it's going to be Turner for now.
Who was it? Brad Guzan making a comeback.
Man,
in the studio, bring him back out of retirement.
Bring back Gru. I'm here for it.
Okay. There we have it for last week's action. Moving on to this week's we had a little bit of a harder time than usual trying to pick our match of the week, but ultimately we landed on Chelsea and Arsenal, partially because they are both level on points for 4th and 5th place. As I said earlier, 2 goals separating them. Arsenal's your team. Chelsea's been one we've loved talking about this year because we had very low expectations and they've succeeded all of that so far. What are you expecting from this game? I guess I'll start with the Arsenal side of things.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping to see a response, right? It's been a rough past 2 games. I want to see a response. Obviously, in the last Premier League game, you had Thomas Partey playing at right back, not ideal, stuff like that. But I just want to see a response. Straight up. If I could see a response, that would be huge. I don't know if we'll see that.
Yeah, and I'll put it out
a response as well.
Yeah,
exactly. Their last game.
Yeah.
I don't know what to expect, to be completely honest.
No, I'm completely with you. I can see this one going any which ways. Cole Palmer's listed with a knee injury at the moment. I'm sure he'll be okay to play. Declan Rice came out that he has a broken toe and is planning on playing through it from everything I've read. Kai Havertz, interesting. I don't know if he's going to play or not. It sounded like he had a head injury.
Yeah.
It's a very weird thing, and I think the key here is if he is back in playing shape and ready to go, Martin Odegaard will be the difference in this match.
And you need
And
to
you
get
will
him on.
and this will be noticeable. Whether he starts and plays 70 minutes or he comes on just for like the last 20, 15 even. When he plays, you're going to see a huge change, in my opinion, in that Arsenal team. And it's going to just give them that morale boost.
Yeah.
But we'll see. What is your – oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what's your score prediction?
Yeah, I'm taking Arsenal. I do think they bounce back. I'm going to go 2-1, but I could also see this be 2-0 because I think Saliba and company have a statement to make in that back line. And they're not allowing a bunch of goals. They allowed one to Inter Milan, one to Newcastle. I guess 2 to Liverpool, but Liverpool scoring goals on everybody at that rate. I think that's going to be my big thing is sure they might be able to score 1 or 2 Arsenal, but how many will they allow? And I don't think that's going to be very many, and I think they win relatively straightforward. I think it will be a more dominant performance. The scoreline might not reflect.
See, I like how optimistic you are. I like 2-1, but I'm going Chelsea.
Okay.
I think at home they're going to get it done. I feel like Arsenal just looks a little shell-shocked right now with how things are going. And I hope I'm wrong, right? I hope it's okay. But I just feel like morale might be a little down because in both of these 2 losses, you've had the majority of possession. You've controlled the game. You just haven't been able to get wins, and they've been on the road against good teams. This is also on the road against a good team, and I would not be surprised if it continued for this next game as well.
I will also say it might be the 72nd minute in Chelsea's Conference League game against FC Noah from Armenia. Have you seen the scoreline?
No, let's have a look.
7-0.
Jesus Christ.
Chelsea. Enzo had a hat trick of assists in 9 minutes. João Felix has a pair of goals. He really should have scored one earlier, so he should have a hat trick. But otherwise, it's been 6 different goal scorers. They are flying high, and if this momentum carries on, I could see it be or Chelsea win as well.
Right? They carry that momentum in. Yeah, I'm going to back Chelsea in this. I had optimism heading into the Newcastle game that was clearly misplaced. So right back to where we usually are. I'm going Chelsea wins this 1-2-1. I would love to be proved wrong, but I think that's how it's going to go.
Yeah, fair enough. Next one of the games you kind of briefly touched on earlier, Liverpool hosting Aston Villa. Aston Villa's coming off that 4-1 defeat to Tottenham, 2-1 to Crystal Palace in the Cup last week, 1-0 to Bruges in the Champions League this week. Do they turn it around against Liverpool?
No.
At Anfield?
Let's add another one. Liverpool looks too good right now. They look like the best team in the league. Offensively, they are ruthless. I said this earlier, and I'll continue to say it. They are so good going forward, and they're so good in the back as well. Everything right now looks cohesive. They look together. It's going to continue in this one. I think Villa's a very good team. They're not going to be able to get it done, especially not at Liverpool. Give me 2-0. I think they shut them out. I think they get multiple goals. I don't know who it's going to come from because a lot of guys on Liverpool can score, but I think it'll be 2-0. I think they'll look good doing it too.
Yeah, and that's part of the thing. A lot of guys can score. You're looking at it. Mo Salah obviously has 7 goals. Luis Diaz has 5. Diego Jota has a pair. And then there's like 5 other guys who all have a goal. For every position. Gakpo, Curtis Jones, Darwin Nunez has scored, which is kind of crazy, and Virgil van Dijk. And it seems like this team is just flowing so well. They've been on a roll. They haven't scored less than one or less goals in any Premier League match since October 5th, so just over a month ago when they beat Crystal Palace 1-0. They also haven't given up many goals against anyone recently. So I'm taking Liverpool. I think they'll win 2-0 as well. I do like that scoreline. I just think Aston Villa is in one of those situations where we talked about with Arsenal a bit, Man City at the moment, where it's just you're just in a ditch and you do need something to get you out of it. And even getting a draw here would be massive, massive.
Massive, yeah. For morale, for everything, get a point. I just don't see it happening.
I don't either. And I'll say this: Emiliano Martinez, you're going to have to play the game of your life this weekend because Liverpool has been putting crazy numbers of shots on everybody they played. Put on 8 against Brighton at the weekend. Put on 7 against Brighton in the cup last week. They already obviously had 4 goals against Bayer Leverkusen, had 8 shots there. So they're making you work in that. Luis Diaz had a hat trick in the midweek against Leverkusen. I expect him to kind of keep that hot form going, and I think he's one of the guys I expect to score. Other one, it's easy to say Mo Salah, but I'm not really sure who that second goal scorer will be.
Yeah.
Another game of kind of note and interest, just because I guess they've fallen off the block a little bit, but Brighton is hosting Man City. And we've talked about Man City and how they're struggling and all. This, to me, seems like one that they must win. This seems like a must win for Man City. Is that something?
It's tough, though, going on the road to Brighton, a team that I would argue is better than Bournemouth.
Yes.
In a situation, like you said, where it's a must-win game. Because right now you've lost 3 in a row, first time since 2018.
Mm-hmm.
You need to pick up 3 points. 1 point is not good enough here. It really isn't.
Because if
Brighton's going to be looking for points too, because they're also fighting for those Champions League spots.
Yeah, they're in 8th place with 16 points, so 2 back of the Champions League, 3 back of 3rd place if results were to go their way at the weekend. So they're still completely in this hunt, and they have looked really good to start the season. Liverpool's been their bogey team, lost twice to them in their last 2 games. It's Liverpool, not expecting too much from that.
Yeah.
What is your score prediction in this one?
See, I think generally it's foolish to bet against Manchester City. I know they've gone through a rough week, lost 3 in a row, but it's foolish to bet against Pep Guardiola. I think he'll figure this out. I do think they concede. I'm going to continue to say they concede because they haven't proven that they are in a position where they won't concede yet.
No,
so I think it'll be 2-1. I think they will concede a goal, but I do think they get all 3 points. And they look decent doing it. Haaland gets himself a goal. I don't think he gets shut out again.
Yeah, I agree. And it's only been 4 times all season, 5 times actually, where they haven't allowed a goal. Only 2 of them are in the Premier League. Southampton and Chelsea on the opening day. Otherwise, everyone seems to be scoring, and they seem to be scoring first. I'm expecting that once again because Brighton is usually strong starting and kind of either holds on or blows it later on in the second half. I do think I like the Erling Haaland shout for a goal. Kevin De Bruyne, for me, is the big one coming back. I'm expecting him to start. I'm expecting him to be relatively close to 100% if they've been waiting for him this long. I know it's hard coming back and playing this and this, but I think he'll be the difference maker. I expect him to have an assist, and I'm taking Man City 3-1. Maybe we'll be completely proven wrong once again, but
seems to be the case. Yeah.
Our picks have not been looking great as of the last couple of weeks. So
we've been lacking.
We need an international break ourselves to kind of lock in and get back.
Take a step back, recalibrate. Yeah, because we've been off since the last international break, just about every week.
Yeah, it's also, with that being said, that just goes that there's been some crazy results because it's not like making outrageous upsets the whole time.
Where the hell would Forest come from, right? How the hell are they sitting up in 3rd? Like, it's been a crazy start to the season. And
it doesn't seem right with Forest in 3rd, but I'm so here for it.
Honestly, I am too, bro. Give me the Chris Wood Golden Boot winning redemption arc kind of.
Oh, yeah.
Tossed aside by Newcastle, goes to Forest and becomes the man.
He's going to be a cult hero in Nottingham by the end of – it's going to be him and Robin Hood up there.
Mm-hmm. And the best part is he's a Kiwi.
Yeah, I know.
Mm-hmm.
A Brit. Could be worse. Could be a frog or a Frenchman or an Aussie, but he's not. He's from the land down under the land down under.
Mm-hmm.
Deep down in New Zealand. And I'm expecting to see him at the World Cup in 2 years' time.
Oh, they should. Yeah, they got that spot, so he'll be there.
If New Zealand doesn't make it, then we're going to have one of the biggest upsets on our hands in football history.
In World Cup qualifying history, yeah.
Yeah. But I expect him to. Only other one I have on the docket for us to kind of go in detail with. We've talked about a lot of teams at the top. Now it's time to go all the way down to the bottom. Wolverhampton Wanderers hosting Southampton. I don't know what to go with in this one because you look at Southampton, they've won their last two. One of them was a cup, but you're still finally turning that page after not having won a match all season. They beat Everton on penalties and they beat Cardiff in the cup. What do you do? Now they've beaten Stoke, who's still a second division team, but they also beat Everton once again. What are you leaning in this one? Like, what are you thinking? What are you expecting from this game? You don't have to give a prediction quite yet, but what do you think? Because Wolves have looked terrible as well as of late. They don't have a win in their last 5 at least. It's looking more like they haven't won a single match since August 28th when they beat Burnley in the cup.
Yeah, I'm expecting this to be dire.
Yeah.
To be dire. Like, tune in if you're a sicko, if you're a soccer sicko, if you're a footy sicko, because I think it'll be one of those kinds of games. It's gross. It's long balls. It's headers. It's grimy. It is college soccer in the Premier League. That's what I'm expecting. And I will give my prediction. I think Wolves gets their first win of the season here.
Okay.
I think they're at home. They need one. I'm so anti-Southampton that it's allowing me to be a little less anti-Wolves. That's kind of my thinking here. I think they'll get it done, but it's going to be a gross 1-0 set piece counter-attacking goal.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I also want to put out there, like, Wolves have been scoring relatively consistently.
Mm-hmm.
They have 14 goals on the season in the Premier League. The only team in that bottom, the next best team in terms of the people that are around, Leicester at 15th place has 14 as well, but then Brentford has 19 and 12th. Those are the only two teams in the bottom half of the table, really bottom half plus 2. So only the top 8 have better goals for. So they're scoring, but it's the fact they've allowed 27 goals. So my big question here is Southampton, who scored the least amount of goals with 7, are they going to get goals, or is Wolves' defense finally going to let up or hold?
I just don't see Southampton scoring.
I don't either. I think this could very well be a high-scoring game if it is kind of an even way, just because, well, mostly because of the Wolves side. Both their last 2 matches have been 2-2. They're scoring. I'm going to take them to win. I'm going to go 2-0 because I think somehow, some way they're going to score. Maybe even 2-1 because, their defense is giving up more. It's more leaky than the Titanic. So not exactly the prettiest thing to watch. So we'll see. It's going to be, like you said, one for the college soccer, one for the soccer sickos and the football sickos. It's going to be ugly. But I do expect goals. That's one thing. If you want to see goals, this might be the one to watch. Some of these other ones might not produce very many goals. Any other thoughts on any specific matches before we kind of the ones we've talked about before we hop into our kind of just predictions and all that for the rest of the weekend?
Let's get right into it.
Here we go. We'll start at the top. Brentford hosting Bournemouth. What are you expecting this one? What's your prediction?
If there's Brentford, there are goals. There will be a Brentford goal in this, but I'm going to give it to Bournemouth.
Really? Okay. You think they'll keep the momentum going?
Yeah, I think they carry positive momentum, and they win 3-2. I think it's a pretty good, high-scoring game, one that's fun for the neutral viewer. I'm going 3-2 Bournemouth.
I think 3 goals will be scored by a team. I'm going the opposite. I think Brentford is kind of due for a big game back on the goal sheet. They had 5 against Wolves, 1 against Man U, 4 against Ipswich, and since then it's been 1 against Sheffield Wednesday, your other team, I guess, and 1 against Fulham. I think they'll come back. I think they'll win 3-1. I do just think they have so much attacking talent at the moment that's kind of just slowly creeping the last couple of weeks. And Mbeumo and Visa. Next one up, Crystal Palace and Fulham. It's Fulham. They came off that big win. Crystal Palace has been looking so iffy. I'm taking Fulham. I do think they win another London derby. and get all 3 points. I'm going to take this one 1-0. I think this might be a grimy one that's kind of kept in close quarters and a little bit of aggression here and there between two of the lower side London teams.
See, I'm going 2-0. Fulham. I think they find a way to get 2.
I like it. I like it. Another London team. Seems like that's just the trend. I mean, makes sense considering how many there are in the Premier League. West Ham hosting Everton. What is your thoughts on this one?
See, I'm going 1-1 tie.
Okay.
I'm going with a draw. I just West Ham, man. I'm still not sold. I need to see more. I don't think they'll lose this one, but I just don't think they'll win it. I think they'll let in something stupid. Give me 1-1. Everton finds a way. I think West Ham looks better, but I think Everton finds a way to get a point.
I do like that shout. I just think Everton is so rough at the moment. They haven't really beaten anyone since they beat Crystal Palace. They beat Ipswich in the cup, but Ipswich is or I guess they're not a second division team, so I don't know why. I'm just so used to seeing Ipswich as a championship level team, and with all the cup play recently, I'm taking West Ham. I think it's not the most exciting game, but I think they'll win 2-1. I just think both teams will score. I think this is a bounce back one for West Ham. And we've talked about it time and time again. They went out and got so many good players that it seems like it's only a matter of time for them to break through. We just saw Dominic Solanke break through really for Tottenham. I think this could be the West Ham coming out party.
You're more optimistic than I am.
We did all the other Saturday matches. Moving on to Sunday. Man U hosting Leicester. It pains me to say this, but I actually think Man U might win this one.
I do too.
I'm not.
They win by multiple goals too.
I just have a feeling like Leicester's just not been good. And I mean, they played in the cup the other day and it was 5-2. I don't expect it to be that outrageous, but I could see a 3-1, 3-0 kind of thing. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm going 3-1.
Okay.
I think Man U wins 3-1. They score 3. Look pretty good too. That's what I think will happen.
Yeah, I think they need something, and it looks like the second half is going well for them. They're now at 2-0 against PAOK. No, it's different playing a Greek team and playing Leicester, but I do think they look better in this one, get a good result. Forest and Newcastle. Does Forest keep it up in third place? I think no. I think Alexander Isak is back, and I think this is where we kind of start to see the slip start for Nottingham Forest. Looking at their upcoming fixtures, it's Newcastle, Arsenal, Ipswich, Man City, Man U, Aston Villa. That is a gauntlet they're running through. And I think this is the first nail on the coffin for there.
See, I'm going to ride the wave. Give me Forest.
Okay.
I think the fall-off's going to happen. I've been thinking it's going to happen. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt here and say they win. Give me another Chris Wood goal, 2-1 win.
I do think Chris Wood scores. I think they lose 2-1 to Newcastle. I think Isak's going to look good and keep his momentum going from the weekend. Last match to kind of touch on, Tottenham, Ipswich in London. I'm leaning Tottenham. Tottenham wins relatively easily. They've looked solid as of late, minus the Galatasaray one, but they came back from that. 2-1 win over Man City a couple weekends ago. 4-1 over Aston Villa. Give me Tottenham. Give it to me. I think 2-0. I think they do shut out Ipswich.
So I'm saying 3-0.
3-0.
And they score goals. Give me 3-0.
There we have it. Jackson, any final thoughts on anything in the footballing world in the Premier League or anywhere else before we wrap the show up?
I think we're good on this end. Keep watching Bundesliga. That's looking spicy up top.
Is it getting spicy?
Bayern looking like they might get back to winning ways, but it's still close enough.
Yeah, I mean, 3-point lead on Leipzig. Bayer Leverkusen was a one-hit wonder, it looks like. I'm also curious, and I know we'll have another episode before the international break, but Kylian Mbappe isn't going to play with France. He's looked dreadful this year, as has Jude Bellingham for Real Madrid. I don't think Jude has scored a goal yet this season. Mbappe's scored 6, but only 1 in the last few weeks. That's an interesting one because they're already 9 points back of Barcelona. Catch me getting Atletico Madrid over Real Madrid.
Would love that.
And that's my bold take in the Liga, but I don't think it'll actually happen, but I would love to see it.
Would love it.
Well, let's just do a lap. Let's see what's happening in Serie A. Napoli leads, Inter second behind by a point. Atalanta and Fiorentina are third and fourth in those last two Champions League spots. Fair play to them.
See, Milan's got to pick it up. They have not been good. Now,
They-
Serie A.
They have not looked great. Juventus is over.
Don't even-
Rome is the one that's been disappointing, to say the least. 13 points. They sit in 12th place. Not a great look.
No.
I mean, let's see. What else do we got? Championship, just in terms of we'll keep an eye on teams getting promoted up to the Premier League this year. Sunderland, 30 points in first. Sheffield United looking to bounce right back up with 28. Then it's Leeds, Burnley, West Brom, Millwall, all kind of in that 3 through 6th playoff spots with 26 points down to 22. All very close there. And this league's always a mess.
Mm-hmm.
I will say,
Fine.
one manager who I think is going to get sacked soon. I was thinking maybe, man, you would hire him based on morals. Wayne Rooney has been struggling with Plymouth Argyle so badly.
I don't think he's that good of a manager.
Not.
Right?
It wasn't Derby. I don't even know. Did he manage in DC or did he just play in DC?
He managed. I don't think he was that good.
No. It's very funny to see. 'Cause he's a fat guy now. Looks like I want to be Santa Claus if he grew his beard out more. Because it's
literally, he took retirement and said, "F it, I'm going to do all the stuff I couldn't do as a pro."
Yeah, I mean, I will say nothing against Rooney, but he wasn't exactly the smallest player to begin with.
Man, now he's huge.
Loving life, and
He still got that class, though. You see that free kick?
yeah.
He still got that class.
Let's just give I guess MLS update. You'll probably know better than me. Where are they at in the playoffs?
I think they just finished that one, the first round. They're moving on.
Okay.
Honestly, I tuned out.
Yeah.
The best of three bull
Right.
crap. I was like, this is
Yeah.
catch me when we go on to the next phase. Is kind of where I was at.
Yeah, and it looks like we're about to. It looks like there's 4 games left in this first round. I'm assuming at this point they're all going into a game 3.
Yeah,
But who wants to see them play the same team over and over again? It's not.
I think it's stupid. Just give me 2 legs if you're gonna do it.
Yes. If it is, do it like the rest of the world. 2 legs. But hey, is what it is. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you click that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our other episodes and any of our other Vendetta Sports Media coverage across all the sports world. Big college football weekend coming up. College basketball is back. Shout out Grambling women's basketball for leading 91-9 at the first half of their first game. Don't know if you saw that. Oh, absurd.
No.
They led 91-9 at halftime. They won 131-30.
Nah, bro, that's when you. I don't even know what you do.
I don't know what you tell your team if you're on the losing end of that. Like, we'll get them next time. With that being said, it was D3 versus D1, kind of to be expected, but still, that is just so
demoralizing. Yeah.
Well, stay tuned for our college basketball access as well, I guess. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next week.